The misery, the pain, all the things of party elixirs. Especially those few with just the high bottleneck materials that seem impossible to get in such a pain. It's not impossible. I'm gonna show you how in this video. What up? I am today we're gonna be going over part two, how to make your party elixirs. Now this may seem like a hassle, but right off the rip, I'm gonna tell you, you have to make them. Especially in certain regions, and depending on how many life skills you have in your community, you may not have a lot of resources available to you. In this video, I'll be going over all the pain, all the things that we need to get for them. This will include mainly the bottleneck resources, as going over the common ones would be hella just This means your fruits, traces, saps, and believe it or not, your mushrooms can actually be a pain to come by sometimes. Of course, we won't forget about the griffin claws, you know, but if you really want them, you're gonna do it, right? I was thinking of a couple different ways to do this. If I should just give you guys, this is where you get this is where you get this, and this is how you do it, or should I just go by Elixir and be more tedious and a pain in my... Okay, I'll do it for you guys. We'll go by Elixir, just that way you guys don't have to stem all over my video, and yeah. It's gonna be hellative? It's gonna be repetitive for me. Repetitive. Ha! Shit, you know what? Might as well just go over all of them, just in case you want to make them all yourself anyway. As for the layout in which I will be giving you this information, we're gonna start with the main recipe for each. Hopefully you've all been leveling up your alchemy, smile. First one up, Assassin. You need skilled 1 alchemy to make this elixir. Your first bottleneck resource would be the fruit of crimson flame. Farming garlic and pumpkin are going to be your best and fastest bets. Amanita mushrooms, believe it or not, can also be a pain and hard to find. You can gather them over at Karudu, which is actually northeast of Calvia. There's a bunch of them, you'll trip over them, and you can also farm them as well. And lastly, your trace of memory. The more easily accessible one, your worker nodes. In Valencia, that will be Pilgrim's Sanctum Humility, and in Dregant, that will be Shuriken Necropolis. Melting rose are main hand weapons if you can find them, and also the boxes that you can get from places in Medea is another good way. Next, the Elixir of Concentration. This elixir is actually hella easy and may only have one bottleneck resource, which is your cloud mushrooms. But not really. You want to know why? Because you can farm them, and you can also buy them at the Venda Brandio in Calvia. Yeah, literally, you can just straight up buy them. Use it. Everything else is relatively straightforward. Elixir of Death, not as commonly used, but we will include it anyway. Fruit of magical power could easily be obtained by farming hump mushrooms or emperor. Hump is a little bit faster. As for your ancient mushrooms, you're gonna have to farm those. They're sporadically like all over south of Calfia, but it's like a pain. Just farm them. Ash sap can easily be obtained from Iwa's Hill in Balanos, just to the northeast of Velia. There's also hella lot you can gather all over, but I would definitely recommend going to Baragi Den, as the majority of those are ash. Trace of Death can easily be found by exchanging your Selith main weapon boxes and melting the weapons down, along with your Stars and Node in Calphion, as well as Zvir Highlands and the Mountain of Eternal Winter. You also do need a little bit of a Trace of Ascension if you want to make your Clown's Blood as well. This can be obtained by melting down and exchanging Uria weapons, along with Ancient Stone Chamber Node in Balanos, and also your Shuriken Iron Mine in Mountain of Eternal Winter. Next, Elixir of Defense. Another simple one, we like it. Easy to make. Don't forget to get your Iwa's Hill node just northeast of Velia, and then go to Baragi Den for your gathering needs. For your ash sap, of course. My voice just cracked, god damn it. Drink some water, be right back. Now for Elixir of Destruction, the newer one that gives some extra damage, hell yeah. Your quickest way to get your Fruit of Abundance is going to be farming again. Well, would you look at that? It seems to be a really good trend, doesn't it? With sunflower or onion, sunflower being your fastest. Trace of Hunting is actually very limited in how you can get it. Your Glitch runes and also your Lynch Farm runes in Serendia will be your best ways to get it. And Tyrant's Blood does require a Trace of Savagery if you want to make that as well. Good thing that is also the Lynch Farm runes, along with melting Ain weapons. Ain, as I say it, A-I-N? Yes, those. Main weapons. And lastly, for Destruction, your Snowfield Cedar Sap. Make sure to get the nodes in Mountain of Eternal Winter of Jade Starlight Forest and Wind's Knoll's Perch. Granted, they're a hell of a low return. I recommend definitely gathering. I find best place to gather is along the roadside, just to the east of the Elton main city. Just go up and down the road. You'll find it, I trust. Destruction done. Next, ooh, a big one. Detections. Fruit of Abundance is easily obtained from breeding sunflower and onions via farming. Definitely recommend the sunflower, it's fast. Trace of Savagery is easily obtained through your Lynch Farm runes in Serendia and melting your Ain weapons. Main weapons, of course. Now the big one, the truffle mushrooms. I'm actually going to be showing you guys all the rotations and spots that I use to get mine. There are quite a few, believe it or not, all scattered throughout BDO. Well, mainly in Serendia, Goodwin, and Driga. Yeah. You'll see. I'll be speeding through the clips a little bit, showing you the locations and where the truffles are in each area. Now, when you're doing this, I would highly recommend getting alts. What do I mean by this? I mean setting up individual characters in these locations to easily swap and save a crap ton of time, trust. Now, there is a slight catch to this, but it's not that bad, trust, don't overreact yet. You definitely want to gather them with a hoe to make it more efficient to possibly get more. That being said, you need to be at least skilled 5, so it's getting a lot of characters to skilled 5, but it doesn't take that long. Just go to bear, do a couple rotations before you know it'll be done. If you don't know about the bear power leveling, well, if you guys want a mini video on that, like a short or something, leave some comments down below. Yeah. That wouldn't take me too long to create. That'd be hella easy. With that being said, with just taking a little bit of time, consistency, and swapping over multiple servers, you will get all the truffles you need. If you focus hard in a day, you'll be very surprised at how much you can possibly get. Having hella mastery is really good, but also hard if you're using a lot of ults. I will be leaving the rest of the clips in the background to play until we move on to the next elixir. Go forward and prosper on your detections and extra damage. Hell yeah. Next, we have Draining. Your first bottleneck, Fruit of Nature, extremely in demand for multiple reasons. Farming and breeding carrot or purple mushroom are going to be your best ways to get this fruit. Mushrooms are also a little bit of a pain because they're hella dispersed throughout Calpheon and not worth gathering in my opinion, so definitely farm those if you need them as well. Birch sap isn't too hard to come by, as you can get it from the Bree Tree Ruins node in Calpheon and also in Drigan, the Kumet Lumba Kampa. As for gathering them, well, they're just about everywhere north and south of Calpheon. Besides Trent, I go over to Florin and then go into Bree Tree Ruins and just kind of chill. Your Trace of Forest actually has 3 different nodes. Hell yeah. Brianto Farm and Ruha Tree Stub in Calpheon territory, along with Tooth Fairy Forest in Kamasilvia. There is actually a less common method known at the Seed Vendor in Calpheon. Go to her and make sure you have 200 weeds on you and you can exchange it for 1 there. Easy. Along with some gathering EXP. It's not much, but you know, it's something. Next on the party elixir menu, Frenzy. Fruit of me, Fruit of Crimson Flame can easily be obtained by garlic and pumpkin farming. Pumpkin being slightly faster. Make sure to get the Longleaf Tree Forest for your cedar sap in Calpheon along with gathering. It's pretty easy. I usually go to Calpheon Castle and make my way south down to Lake Kaya and then just go back up. You can also go to Commit Lumber Camp just north of Dashira. There's a couple traces you will need depending on if you're going to make the bloods as well. First, Trace of Earth in Balanos, make sure to get the Ancient Stone Chamber, and in Medea, make sure to get the Ancient Ruins Excavation Site. Make sure. A lesser common method known actually is bring 200 weeds to Alustin in Velia, and he will also give you Traces of Earth. For your Trace of Battle, make sure in Calpheon territory, grab your Barianato farm, and in Odalita, your Crypt of Resting Thoughts. Oh wait, what Crypt of Resting Thoughts has? I had no clue. Okay, cool. Also, don't forget to melt and exchange your Bear's main hand weapon boxes. And lastly, this was longer one, Ghost Mushrooms. I would highly recommend just buying them from the mushroom vendor in Calpheon. You could farm them, of course, but I think it'd be more of a waste. Just buy them. Easy. There isn't much to gather in open world either, so that's not an option. And now for another one that a lot of people have been waiting for, Griffon Elixirs. So for Griffon Claws, you actually have two options. One's more efficient than the other. The first is go to Navarran Steep and hunt the King Griffons there, and hopefully when you tan them, you get some claws. It also applies to normal Griffons, don't forget them. It's a little repetitive, could take time, but it is good to do here and there. The other option that we have is guaranteed, actually. There is just a requirement, you need a little bit of hunting levels in order to make it efficient. There is a boss version of the King Griffon, which is a hunting mob over in Ash Forest. He has long spawn timers, takes him quite a while, but if you do see him, it has this yellow icon on the map. Make sure you have an alt over there to hunt him. Definitely have a horse with armor, and I would recommend at least professional 10 in hunting. That way you can use a higher grade matchlock and make it so you're killing him quicker. Even for just a few minutes of time, you are guaranteed claws. But like I said, sometimes they can be hard to find, they aren't a long timer, and they are scarce. Having an alt out there and ready to go for them when they spawn and you see them definitely makes it easier. That's personally what I do, and I have almost 1,000 claws just chilling. Your cedar sap can easily be obtained from gathering. I usually start at Calpheon Castle, go somewhat to Lake Kaya, and then go back up. Also, Commit Lumber Camp just above Tashira and Drigan is a really solid option for density. Also, the Longleaf Tree Forest node in Calpheon. Trace of Battle can be easily acquired by melting down Bear's main weapons or exchanging them, along with Berninato Farm in Calpheon territory and in Odalita, the Crypto Resting Thoughts. Everything else to make for Griffons is hella easy, no worries. Next, we have our Grim Reapers. You want that fruit of nature, so we're gonna have to use carrots and purple mushrooms via farming and breeding. For your sky mushrooms, you can just buy them via the vendor in Calpheon, or you could farm them, but definitely recommend buying. Trace of Origin is a little bit of a weird one in terms of melting down weapon. The green grade horn bows will offer you the traces. Not gonna lie, I was actually gonna say them all, but after doing that, it was a hella tongue twister, so I decided not. Your nodes are in Serendia, get the Glish Ruins, and in Drigan, you will have the Foundation of Origin. Go figure. A less common exchange for them is actually by taking 200 weeds to Lara in Heidel. Do that and she'll give you. Next, Elixir of Life. Well, yeah, there isn't much to this one. Just go make it. Here's the formula. Nice. Perforation, also less commonly used, but still there. Fruit of the Sun, one we actually haven't talked about yet through all these elixirs. There are a few crops you can use, but I would definitely just go with wheat. Wheat has the quickest grow time. Make it, breed it, voila. Farming. Unfortunately, bluffer mushrooms are one of those that are also really scarce and hard to come by. Adding those to your farming list will also be your best option. Mindstep, you have a couple of node options. Calpheon has Maria Cave, and in Drigan, the Commute Lumber Camp. Now, if you're like me and you want them a little faster because the nodes aren't returning enough, go to Trent, and then just start going north all the way up to Lake Kaya. The whole forest are just filled with pine. And now for your traces of violence. Melting or exchanging callous weapons is an easier grab in order to get these, if you have them. Stars Ends and Mancha Forest in Calpheon, along with Mountain of Division in Odalita, have your nodes. Have your nodes, have your traces. You know what I mean? We're almost done. Hell yeah. Next is a Shock. Tiger mushrooms are not very easily available in open world, but thank God we can actually buy them from the vendor. What vendor? The vendor in Calpheon, of course. The only one that sells mushrooms anywhere. For whatever reason. I didn't just say shells, you didn't hear that. And of course, your cedar sap can be obtained from the Longleaf Tree Forest in Calpheon. And of course, from gathering near Calpheon Castle or above Tashira, the Commit Lumber Camp. And for our last elixir, Will. Believe it or not, this is actually probably the easiest elixir ever to make in the game. And there is no explanation I really need to do. Here is your formula, your thing, the alchemy, yes. No bottlenecks, mass produce it, easy, no worries. Hell yeah. I repeated myself so much throughout this video with the things and the materials and the... Smile. I'm just messing. I have a couple more things to add that will hopefully help. Mainly a little bit of a summary, to be honest. Just about all your resources can be gathered in one way, shape, or form, so it is simply just a matter of putting forth the effort. Fruits are mainly fruit farming and gathering, and then taking advantage of the little proc events at the chest and using a golden key to get more. Don't forget to keep your eye out for events that reward with fruits as well. Saps you mainly get just from gathering and your worker node empire. Definitely make sure there's changes coming up to get a lot of humans. Humans are going to be very valuable on our nodes. Unless you just want straight up resources, possibly potentially just giants, but we shall see. Probably making a video on that in the future. I will be leaving links down in the description to BDO codex for every single one of these elixirs and the resources and recipes included. If you click on any of the gatherables, they will give you a heat map of sorts. This will make it a little bit easier for you to pinpoint what resources are where. Do keep in mind the white, green, and blue grades have different exchange rates in terms of what you need for materials. 1 green can replace 2 to 3 base materials, and blue can replace 3 to 5 required. I hope that this video clarified some things and gave you a little bit more options for the materials you need to make your party elixirs. I hella appreciate all of you watching as always. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Feel free to ask questions if you need. I look at the comments very often and answer. I also sometimes just like to mess with you guys, poke, have fun, and see what you guys are talking about. I'm nosy, okay? See you all in the next video. Crimson out.